So now we go, probably this will be the last verse that we talk about today, chapter 8, verses 15 and 16, that after Mordechai achieves his power and his authority by through his hishtadlus, through his efforts, Mordechai went out in front of the king, wearing the garments of the king. Of course, it sounds like the priestly garments which the Kohanim wear this week. Wearing tchelas v'chor, which is the tchelas is the blue or purple, the white, v'ater zahav, the gold crown, v'tachrich butz v'argaman, a garment, a jacket of linen and purple, v'ir Shushan salav samecha. City of Shushan was rejoicing. So Mordechai was wearing these special garments. But of course, we know what's the most special garment. The garments, not the fancy garments, not the Calvin Klein or whatever is the designer. No, the most fancy garments, the garment that a young boy came to the yeshiva this morning and put on his tefillin. The best garments are the holy garments. That's the holy garments. And that's why it says, the next pasuk, Yehudim haisa ora v'simcha v'sason vikar. And for the Jews, there was ora v'simcha, light and rejoicing. Sason, happiness, vikar, happiness and splendor. And says the Gemara Megillah 16b that each of these words refers to a mitzvah. Ora, Zoe Torah, light is Torah. To study Torah is to each of us doing our part to bring a little bit more light to the world. Whenever we share Torah, we study Torah, we teach Torah, we learn Torah, we're bringing light to the world. Simcha, that refers to the rejoicing on the Shabbos, Shabbos and the festivals. When you rejoice on the Shabbos and the festivals, that's true joy. That's true happiness. It's a happiness where sometimes we have to run all over the times and to get to joy. But true happiness is where we're not rushing. We're just staying there on the Shabbos and on the festival. And then comes the next mitzvah that's referred to is the sason, that refers to the mitzvah of circumcision. And then comes vikar, honor, that refers to the mitzvah of tefillin. That's what the rabbis say. It refers to the mitzvah of tefillin. That's the real garment. So why doesn't it mention it deliberately? Why doesn't it mention it explicitly? So it's to teach us that it's teaching us that the true honor, the true joy, the true gladness, that comes through, not through the ephemeral, but through not through the superficial, but through the deep connection to Hashem. That's why it's telling us this idea. The true happiness, true light, is only through the performance of the mitzvahs or through our attachment to something eternal. So anyway, about the tefillin, this is a story I sent to the bar mitzvah boy who put on tefillin this morning. He's not bar mitzvah, he put on tefillin for the first time. He put on a month before. The practice is to put on tefillin a month before you become bar mitzvah. Actually, there are different practices. My custom is put on a month before, our family custom, but there are different practices. But that seems to be the predominant custom. So when Rabbi Yisrael of Rajin passed away, he had his sons had to divide up his estate. Their first approach was everybody should write down what they would like as their share and put the note in an envelope, and then they would open it up. This was their first approach, and they'd open it up, and they decide who gets what. But anyway, after they did this, for some reason that idea was dropped. And instead, they drew lots. And Rav David Moshe, his son, Rabbi Yisrael of Rajin's son, Rav David Moshe of Chorkov, he at that point, when they drew the lots, he inherited the greatest treasure of all, his lot came up that he got the tefillin that their father, Israel of Rajin, had inherited from his father, who had received them from his father, who was known as the Malach, who had got them from his father, who was the Maggid of Mezrich. So he got the tefillin. Can you imagine the tefillin of the Maggid of Mezrich? So after they divided up like this, one of the older brothers, Rav Avram Yaakov of Sadigora, said, I'd like to see what each of us wrote down on the envelopes. And so when they came to the envelope of Rav David and Moshe, he had written, this was the person who got the tefillin, he wrote down, I don't want anything from the estate except for these tefillin. And so he was the one who got the tefillin. But then what happened was, and this story was told by Rameir Shapiro of Lublin, who was the founder of the Daf Yomi movement. So Rameir Shapiro of Lublin told us that 2 years later, Rav Avram Yaakov, who was the one who did not get the tefillin, was sitting around with his Hasidim, and everybody, he was trying to inspire them on Hanukkah, and he said, listen, I have a strong envy of my brother because he got the tefillin of the Maggid of Mezrich. He just said this in passing. He didn't, he didn't think much of it. He's like, but he said it. All of a sudden, two young men who were there, they grew pale, and they said, listen, we weren't going to say anything, but what we did was, when your brother Abdullah Moshe wasn't looking, we knew how much you would want these tefillin. So we waited for him to not be paying attention. We went into the tefillin. We took out the parshios of the tefillin, the passages, and we replaced them with regular parshios. And we have them here. And we have them for you. And they brought them out to show them to Rav Avram Yaakov. So Rav Avram Yaakov said, everybody was just shocked, and Rav Avram Yaakov, they couldn't understand. First of all, two things they didn't understand: how could these young men do something like stealing? And number two, how could it be that Rav David Moshe didn't notice that the tefillin were ordinary tefillin? So what happened was, right away, as soon as they gave him these parashos, right away, Rav Avram Yaakov said, don't talk about this with anybody else. He didn't want the word to get out. And he quickly went on this journey, and he traveled to his brother. And the day he arrived at his brother's town, he went into the room where his brother was davening, and he found two pairs of tefillin, the pair of the Maggid and another pair of tefillin. So he saw his brother come in, and he looks at the Maggid's tefillin. He picks him up, he sighs, he puts him down, and then he puts on the regular tefillin, which are the ordinary tefillin. So he said to his brother, why aren't you wearing the Maggid's tefillin? He said, I have to tell you the truth. The Rav David Moshe said, I picked them up a couple of times. I never feel worthy to wear them, so I've never put them on. I never feel worthy to wear them. And so he put them down. Rav Avram Yaakov said, no, you don't understand. The tefillin, the parashios are ordinary. Here are the special parashios for you to wear. And then he gave him the parashios to wear. And from that point on, he could sense the kedusha of the tefillin. Anyway, that's the stories for today, the interpretations of the Megillat Esther.